Don't you have any proven major league talent?
Now, I want to put together a team that'll help us relocate to Miami.
You want us to lose?
We've been losing. What I want is for us to finish dead last.
This year, the Cleveland Indians have a multi-talented team.
The first offering just a bit outside.
They're masters of the sacrifice.
He's looking to sacrifice a live chicken.
One whole chicken, just like you said.
The double play.
Excuse me.
I have a much better body than she does.
Thank you for me, she really does.
And the pickoff.
Every time we win, we peel a section.
Tom Berenger.
Zipper on your skirt stuck.
Use your imagination.
Charlie Sheen.
These things make me look ridiculous.
Seeing's the most important thing, son. I don't think it's that important.
Corbin Burnson. And Bob Uecker.
Haywood swings and crushes one towards South America.
Major League.
Hey everybody, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And today Ryan's having us take a look at a baseball film because I think baseball's back. Is baseball back?
Is it back?
What?
It will be back on the 23rd. That is, at the moment, the official opening day for the 2020 season.
Okay, so this is actually coming out that week, so...
Yay.
Good timing,
so hold on.
huh?
I don't want to derail this, but in what capacity is it being open? Because I don't know anything about this. I'm like a complete nobody when it comes to sports.
So the capacity, to be perfectly honest, when it comes to fans, Major League Baseball, last I heard, is leaving that up to the local governments of each team. So the Chicago Cubs and White Sox are going to be following whatever orders there are in Illinois and Chicago when it comes to group gatherings for fans. So I mean, if there's a location where it's no more than 50 people, then I'm going to assume that 50 fans or 1,000 people, be it 1,000? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
So,
but they're playing full games then, right?
They're playing full games. They are implementing some rules that they've been hinting at experimenting with, as in, if a game goes into extra innings at the start of the 10th, both teams will start the game with a man on second. So kind of like minor league stuff, but that's to shorten the game. So because they're trying to play 60 games in 2 months or 2.5 months.
Wow.
So they need to, speed things up. Like how we do have to today. So, and there's going to be other things
We don't have
too.
to speed the show up today. I just said I have to edit an episode tonight, so we got to keep it to an hour, which we should be doing for all of these.
Yeah, I know. And lately we've kind of fluttered on that a little bit. That's all.
If we talk for 3 hours about Major League, I'll be very surprised.
All right, so final thoughts, guys, on Major League?
Funny. Okay. So Alan, continue with the intro.
Ryan.
Alan, continue with the intro.
The movie today is Major League, a film that Ryan had us watch. So Ryan, I'm just going to let you take over.
Okay.
So you take the intro.
Okay.
How do you like them apples?
That's fine. I mean, I was just expecting you to throw it to me, anyway. So Major League is a 1989 comedy, written and directed by David S. Ward, who admitted in an interview that one of the reasons why he made this movie was because he figures that it's the only way that he'll be able to see his Cleveland Indians win a World Series, because he is actually a Cleveland Indians fan. And he also written and directed, I believe, Major League 2, and he writ the screenplay for Major League 3 Back to the Minors. So he's been involved with all three of the films, which I don't really recommend, to be honest.
Hold on, he
but
did
anyway,
the screenplay for Sleepless in Seattle?
Yes, he did.
Huh. Neat.
So the movie stars Charlie Sheen as Ricky Vaughn, one of the main players. He's probably the bigger name. You've got Wesley Snipes, I'm bad with names.
Corbin Burnson.
Corbin Burnson. Rennie? No. Russo.
Rene Russo.
Rene Russo. How about you take these names? How about that? You take these.
Okay. Tom Bergener, Margaret Whitten, James Gammon, and then Dennis Haysbert.
Okay.
I've heard of some of these people.
That's good.
I was going to say, you and I are going to have a talk about Dennis Haysbert later. Because I guarantee you don't know who that is.
I don't know who Dennis Haysbert is.
You will. You will.
Okay, good. Okay. I won't even look it up.
I'm gonna blow your mind later.
I can't wait.
So, my experience with this movie has gone back before I was 6, I think. This was one of my dad's favorite comedies, and I remember it being on TV a lot. It's one of those movies that has a lot of adult humor in it, but it's very easily edited for TV. And one of the and I just like the quotes in this movie, I either play over in my head when I get annoyed with somebody. Like the one-liners just start pouring into my head. And it's one of those movies that, as a baseball fan, I really enjoy because they do a lot of actual baseball stuff and stuff that's like true baseball knowledge is thrown into this movie. That and this film has also worked its way into the culture of Major League Baseball, as in the players themselves will do things based off this movie. So it's really intertwined itself into the whole like baseball fandom. So there's that for me. Now, I know that neither one of you had seen this movie, but I have 2 questions for you. One, what did you know of this movie or didn't know you knew from this movie that you realized watching it? And 2, how did you like it or not like it?
Devin, you go first.
Okay, so I've seen there's the locker room speech where he talks about how the one lady doesn't like him or doesn't like the team.
Yeah.
I've seen that scene before in some capacity. I don't understand where I saw it, but I saw it and I'm like, oh, I've seen this part before. But that's all I've seen of the movie, aside from the poster that has the picture of the baseball with sunglasses and a red mohawk. I've seen that around everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's all I knew coming into the movie. And I liked it. I mean, I had asked earlier, what movie did we watch? I had asked earlier to watch more baseball movies. Because it's just or sports movies in general. 'Cause it's a genre that I'm not super familiar with. And I thought of a couple things during this, mostly that I liked this movie a lot. I think the comedy worked. And the baseball, like, I like watching baseball live. I don't think I'd watch baseball on TV. But if baseball on TV was filmed like this and cut like this, all day. I'd watch it all day.
Okay.
So I liked it.
Okay. Alan, your thoughts?
I liked parts of it, but overall it just wasn't for me. And we can get into why later. But I think Charlie Sheen has a lot to do with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you want to get into that now, but I almost expected to. I saw him. I didn't know he was in this movie. I didn't know Wesley Snipes was in this movie and got excited for both. But Charlie Sheen came out, and I was like, oh, I'm going to hate this, and I'm going to hate his character. And you know what? He was fine. There wasn't like, he didn't do anything overly Charlie Sheen-y, and I was like, all right.
That's because this is before Charlie Sheen turned into Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, this is before Tiger Blood and Winning. But my problem is that that's how I know Charlie Sheen now. Like, I have that image in me before I see this. Not I see this and then he's going off on 2020 about Tiger Blood. Yeah, I wasn't just him being in the film like distracted me. I wasn't a big fan of the Jake Taylor character. But I liked Wesley Snipes, and I liked the voodoo guy,
Oh, he was fun.
The Allstate
Yeah.
guy.
Dennis Haysbert.
The Allstate guy.
President Palmer from 24 is the voodoo guy, Devin.
That's him?
That's
yeah.
No, it's not.
It is.
Yes, it is.
That's so weird.
See,
So I really liked his part of the film.
good. I'm happy
didn't
about
really-
that.
I had some issues with it because it's kind of like making fun of his religion, like just to make fun of his religion, which I was like, eh. But
Well-
this is from the 80s, so I'll
And-
allow it, I guess.
And
I'll
I
give it a pass.
think you'll appreciate it maybe a little bit more when you find out how actual major leaguers take that character.
Okay, because I do want to know.
Yeah. So there are themes in this movie that we need to talk about. There is not really a statement that I'm going to make, but there's going to be some. I'm going to share some thoughts about the Cleveland Indians in general and about what's going on in the news that has to do with the
sure.
Cleveland Indians. We're gonna that I'm going to talk about. But okay, so we've already gone through some of the characters. When it came to the characters themselves, Alan, you already kind of stated yours, but if you had to pick, like, the 3 characters that you got the most humor out of, that you enjoyed the most.
Yeah, for me it was Wesley Snipes with Willie Mays Hayes,
Yeah.
Dennis Haysbert with Pedro Serrano, and then I liked the manager,
Yeah,
Lou Brown. I liked him.
Lou Brown.
Um,
I've got a fella on
I
the
just-
extra
I
line
was-
for some white walls.
yeah. So yeah, those are the 3 for me.
Okay.
So I mean, for me, Wesley Snipes was instantly likable. Like the second he came on screen, I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
on board with this character. I like everything he's doing. Same with the manager though, and it sounds like I'm stealing Alan's list, but I'm not. Just because I feel like that kind of a demeanor. Hold on. I feel like that kind of a demeanor is what you need to kind of balance out how kind of over the top some of the cast is, and I really, really liked that. And I mean, this is gonna sound weird, but I got a lot of humor out of the female manager, just because of how much of a villain they set her up to be, and how much of this I'm a Florida socialite just living in Ohio.
Yeah.
That part and that juxtaposition of guess I own a Major League Baseball team now. I just want to be in Boca Raton. That made me laugh a lot. So I mean, it just that whole character I liked.
Yeah. Okay. So, her character, believe it or not, is based off an actual person.
No, it's not.
There was a guy who owned the Los Angeles Rams and another team, but I forget what the other team is, and he died. And she wasn't a showgirl, but his young wife took over the teams, and everybody was freaking out. What is she going to do? This is I think it was back in the 70s or the 60s. And
Yeah.
of course, sexism was rampant when it came to business, especially in sports business. And people were freaking out about oh my gosh, she's going to destroy the franchises because she doesn't know what she's doing. And I don't really know what the fallout or the end game was out of all of that, but I do know that she's based off an actual person.
Yeah.
Another funny thing about her is that 2 years after this movie was released in 1994 or 1993, the Miami Marlins became a team. So it was a joke in the movie that they were going to move Cleveland to Miami, and then 4 years later, Miami gets an expansion team, and they win the World Series 3 years after the fact. So I just
That's awesome. She got
Yeah.
her way.
Exactly, she technically did. So mine, I love Charlie. I absolutely love Charlie Sheen's character in this.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my favorite one-liners from this movie has to do with him. Nothing he said, but it's something somebody says about him. It's when he gets off the motorcycle at spring training, and I think it's the bench coach goes, "Look at this fucking guy."
I was gonna say that though. I was gonna say Charlie Sheen, but not him. People that react to him, because he has some good one-liners about him.
Yeah,
that I like, but that's not one character.
Yeah. So Charlie Sheen in Ricky Vaughn. Just little things like when he gets his first autograph, and it ends up being that the reason why he wants to get his autograph is because he was on ESPN's like Hall of Shame, and he just like he kind of like throws it at him, and then of course his reaction when he finds out that he slept with Roger Dorn's wife, and that he didn't know who she was. So him, I like the catcher, Tyler.
Oh yeah, with the knees.
Yeah, with the knees. I liked him just because of the old aging baseball veteran like persona and just his like thing. He's also in the second one, and there's a gag in the second one that has to do with him that I really like. But his character development with his love story and everything, it's a nice lighthearted romance in the middle of a comedy. So there's that. And I also love the manager.
Yeah,
Alan.
Good.
I disagree about the love story.
Really?
Yeah, completely hated it.
Tell me.
He stalks her. Like, okay, so the seeing her in the restaurant thing was kind of like a meet cute, like a reintroduction to this old flame.
Yeah.
But then he just straight up follows her home from work, like tails her car twice.
Okay, so here's the reason why that doesn't bother me in this movie. One, every character is ridiculous. Everybody has a very toxic flaw. Everybody has a toxic flaw in this movie. Almost everybody. All of the men, anyway, have a very toxic flaw. And his is the fact that he's stalkerish. And at the fact that like he's supposed to be like this smart veteran, and was it Wesley Snipes' character? Somebody who is like, who wasn't even invited to spring training, who just shows up in a Rolls-Royce Volkswagen Beetle, like tells him to, just matter of fact, follow her home from work. And he does it. And it's that ridiculousness matched up with how dumb the people were that he met at her fiance's house, that to me it's silly. And you also have to take in the fact that it's the 1980s. And granted, yes, it is. The whole stalking thing is very creepy, I will admit. It's just with how. Well,
And then the whole thing about her is like she keeps telling him that he's not mature enough for a relationship. And then he just keeps doing stuff like that. Like they have that whole argument in the library.
Yeah.
Where everyone just stops and turns, which I appreciated that gag the first time they did it.
I have a much better body than she does.
But like everything she said was valid, and then he's like, "No, it's like no, you will be with me. No, you will be with me. Okay, I'll be with you." Like it just.
Excuse you, Alan. He read Moby Dick. All right.
Exactly. Quick Cakes coffee.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he needs to be a Moby Dick about it. So.
The only problem I had with the romance part of it was the Randy Newman-esque songs that would play whenever they were about to meet again. Because it would be like, old man gonna go meet a lady. Like every time he would like go to her house or follow her home. And I'm like, this is really ham-fisted.
It was actually Randy Newman, right?
Okay.
In my mind, it's Randy Newman.
This is something that I wanted to talk to you about. That I wanted to talk about next, actually, right after this. So, but first, the manager, Lou Brown, the manager of the Toledo Mud Hens, one of the most famous minor league baseball teams ever. I have no idea what the record is. I have no idea about how many championships they've won. All I know is that the Toledo Mud Hens get referenced almost all the time whenever I'm reading stuff about the minor leagues. So there's that. But anyway,
is it because their name's hilarious?
I have no idea. Probably.
It's like that sounded just like a gag. Like it sounded like someone's like, "Oh, the Mud Hens," and like some writer in some room was like, "Here it is. It's a funny one."
I went to go see the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, the minor league affiliate to the Philadelphia Phillies, play the Toledo Mud Hens in Allentown, Pennsylvania, like 6 years ago. They're an actual team. The Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs are called the Iron Pigs because there was because of the Bethlehem Steel Company that used to be in that area, and steel workers, a nickname for steel workers was Iron Pigs.
Interesting.
So minor league teams get funny names, but they're all
They do.
regionally, like, you know,
Appropriate.
yeah. So now that we got all that out of the way, the song
Yeah.
at the very beginning of the film, were you guys expecting Randy Newman?
Was that actually Newman?
That was actually Newman.
Yeah, so no, not a little bit, but I liked it. And I don't usually like me a lot of Randy Newman.
Okay.
I really wish at the end credits it was just Randy Newman singing "Talking Baseball." We're talking baseball.
So, if I'm right, and I'm not sure if I am, that song is about the Cuyahoga River. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Do you guys know about the famous event that happened on that river, like back in the 60s and
Did
70s?
it catch on fire?
It caught on fire, and that's what that song's about. So that I just wanted to know if you guys knew that, because I find it funny that Randy Newman, of all people, is singing a song about one of the most embarrassing moments in Cleveland city history to open up a movie about their baseball team.
I think the most embarrassing moment in Cleveland's history is the cancellation of the Drew Carey show.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely agreed.
We're going to get that show back on the air.
We better.
Weren't they the ones that tried to set the world record for the most balloons set, and they completely destroyed their like city for like a week or something
Would
like
not
that?
surprise me, Cleveland.
Yeah, so
No, they didn't actually shoot it in Cleveland.
huh?
It just took place in Cleveland. They didn't shoot it in Cleveland.
What,
They shot it on a soundstage
Oh,
in Los Angeles.
I thought you were talking about the balloons. I'm like, they didn't shoot the balloons down. They didn't shoot-
No, they didn't shoot the Drew Carey show in Cleveland. I think they did like the
Gotcha.
opening numbers for Cleveland Rocks there, but
Okay.
Also, Ryan is right. There's the doomed Cleveland Balloon Fest of 1986. Oh no, Cleveland! What are you doing?
Like,
Get your
it was
shit
very
together.
bad.
they're being Cleveland.
They're being Cleveland. Okay, so what
This
do
is
you-
going to get cut, but Pennsylvania is like a shit sandwich between New Jersey and Ohio.
Pennsyltucky. Anyway, moving on. So when it comes to the Cleveland Indians, the film, the team that this movie's based around, what do you guys know about their history?
I know they're from Cleveland.
Okay.
Really, that's all I know. I didn't know anything about this. I had a feeling
That's
that,
fine.
I had a feeling that they're in the news lately. That's
Okay.
The whole time I'm like,
Okay.
oh, they call this their teepee or their wigwam. They're probably in the news now.
Yeah. Okay. So to move into that conversation, the Cleveland Indians, last time they won a World Series, like 1948. So
Wow.
they are now, I think, the team with the longest World Series drought, because they played in 2016 against the Cubs, and it was like the two teams with the longest drought, going against each other. They were originally called the Cleveland Nips back before 1914. And the reason why they got the nickname, there was some guy who had a name where shortened as a nickname would be Nip, and so they turned it to the Cleveland Nips. After he left, they went for a new nickname, and the myth, or the not the myth, but like the legend story, is that there was another team in Cleveland called the Cleveland Spiders, which there was, and they had an outfielder who was Native American. And to kind of tribute him, they called the team the Cleveland Indians
Oh.
as a tribute to him. The problem is this is 1914, and I don't really think a Native American would have much say about what kind of name he would be given.
Right.
Just saying.
Right.
And the symbol that they use, the face, Chief Woohoo, I can't find now on their wiki page. It used to be on their wiki page. Yeah, that was his name, Chief Woohoo.
Oh no.
So,
Oh boy.
back in even in the movie, Harry Doyle, Harry Doyle, who's played by Euchre, Bob Euchre, who I'll get into him because he's a big baseball guy, like truly a big baseball guy. He during one of the radio shows that they show him doing, he calls it like Tribe Woohoo. Like he used both nicknames at the same time that fans like to call themselves.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's bad. I mean, it is, but they are actively looking for a new name. They're actively looking for a new symbol. They have put forth the Cleveland C as their team symbol now. So Chief Woohoo is pretty much gone.
Oh yeah.
So he's blown out of the water. So things are moving forward in Cleveland in that thing.
with this whole conversation,
Yeah.
are the Browns changing their name too?
The Browns are named after the guy who founded that team, whose last name was Brown.
Okay. I didn't know where it was.
That was
That's
that was
fine.
more boring than I thought it was going to be.
That is perfectly fine. These conversations need to happen. They truly do, because I mean, like, people don't really think about where these names come from. But yeah, so yeah, no, the Cleveland Browns were named after the founder, and that was his last name. Just like how the Green Bay Packers are named because it was the Green Bay Packers team was originally a football team from an Acme meat packers plant, and it was the employees that played. So they called themselves the Packers because they packed meat. And so now they're called the Green Bay Packers.
Interesting. You know what? I think I always thought it was something like that, but I'd never heard it. So I'm happy I know that now.
Yeah.
They might be my favorite team because you get meat and cheese. So real quick before, like, this is semi-related to sports,
okay,
but I'm bringing it back to what I know, which is the internet. So you guys know about Gritty, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Flyers mascot.
Yeah. So I saw online that the guys from Queer Eye gave Gritty a makeover.
I saw that.
I
didn't watch the whole thing. He was nominated by the Philly Fanatics, so that brings it back to baseball.
There we go.
But they filmed the whole season in Philly. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that's a thing on the internet to check out.
I love that.
That's cool. Philly Fanatic, the best mascot in sports.
Back to Cleveland and their Rivers on Fire.
Rivers on Fire. So Bob Uecker plays Harry Doyle, the Cleveland Indians play-by-play radio announcer, the voice of the Indians. What did you guys think of him?
He was the one that said he said a swear word and he was like, nobody's watching this anyway. Was that him?
Yeah.
I liked him.
That's him.
I liked him a lot.
Yeah. So you know how he? Oh, sorry, Alan. I see you're. Sorry.
Yeah. Evidently, I've been quoting him for years and just didn't know it.
What?
The just a bit outside.
Yes. Oh. You're going to love where that came from. Do you want to know where that came from?
Sure.
He made that up. That wasn't scripted.
Really?
That was not scripted.
Aw.
They told him what would be going on the field for his scenes, and he just ad-libbed it. Do you want to know why he was like... So, did he come off as a baseball guy? Like, did he kind of come off as kind of like knowing the stuff at all?
Yeah, I mean, I had the sense... I don't know who he is really, but like...
Okay.
I had the sense that like he was like a real like person in the sports radio world, and they were like, or sports broadcasting world, and they're like, yeah, why don't we just use the real one?
Okay. So Bob Uecker, prior to this role, had been doing play-by-play for the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that he retired as a player on, like 17 years before this movie came out. He was on the St. Louis Cardinals World Series winning team in like 68, I believe it was. So like, he's a big baseball guy. His batting average was horrible that year, but anyway, the guy who made this movie didn't realize that he was doing play-by-play for the Brewers. He just knew of him and thought that it would be funny to get him, and he's actually a pretty funny guy. I would highly recommend for people to go to YouTube and look up Bob Uecker's Hall of Fame and introduction speech. It is one of the funniest, dry, comedic speeches you will ever listen to.
Oh, I like that.
And
see, I thought...
Yeah.
See, I got the impression that he was just a baseball announcer guy.
Yeah.
Like, they just... Like, an actual guy who did it. Like, not even a character, just... They pulled the guy.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fan of the film The Replacements.
Yes.
And in that one, they just have John Madden and Pat Summerall doing the announcements for the football games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bob Uecker...
Devin, have you not seen that?
No.
Oh.
Is that
We'll
Keanu?
put that one in the bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then no, I've never seen that one.
Okay.
Oh man.
So we'll definitely put that one in the bank for later. One of my favorite lines comes from him. It's when he's doing his radio show, and he's talking to the fans, and he says, "In case you haven't noticed, and by the attendance you haven't."
Yes. He had a lot of zingers like that, and I was like, yeah, that's good.
And the thing is, though, if you listen to him actually call a game, he calls it straight.
Oh wow.
He doesn't do any of this stuff. Like, he is just a hard-line, hard-nosed, old-school baseball guy. To me, it's heaven. I love listening to him call games. So, speaking of, like, lines and gags, like, your guys' is, like, either, 3 favorite lines or, like, your favorite moments that, that, like, you really got, or you really, for whoever.
My favorite gag in this was just the 2 guys working on the field who were speaking a foreign language and just being like, they suck.
They're shitty.
Yeah, there you go.
I kind of sang that a little bit, but whatever.
Yeah.
It was good,
It's all right.
though.
We'll add the auto-tune in post.
Yes.
There we go.
I think one of my favorite, just scenes itself is what you had said, the scene where, and I forget his name, but he follows that girl home, and they walk into, like, all of those people that, like, just don't understand or know baseball.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite line was like, Cleveland still has a baseball team? And he's like, yeah, we have uniforms and everything. Like, I liked that line because I was like, it just landed right for me. Like, that was one of the ones that really hit hard.
Well,
and then just how that whole scene played out too was so good.
Yeah. I mean, that scene and her fiance's friends is great. One of my, my favorite moment from that scene is when she asks about how much, how much do baseball players get paid nowadays, and he gives what the league minimum is.
Yeah.
And then she asks him, it's like, how much do you make? And he just kind of nods and goes, the league minimum.
Yep. I mean, in that scene specifically, I liked so I love awkward scenes. I just do.
Yeah.
And that might make me a bad person. But I just like that when they were like, he was like, yeah, one day I planned on having a daughter or a son go in the Olympics and win a gold medal in the 200-meter swim thing. And they were like, oh, what did you do in the Olympics? And she's like, 200-meter swim. And I'm like, ooh, it's awkward now. Give me that.
That's part of the reason I couldn't stand that story, because it's just him manipulating her into be like, love me. Like,
well, I mean, okay, so here, when it comes to this movie, you've got Doyle, and you've got he's a veteran, but he's caring about his future more than the present. So he doesn't dive the way he should to stop ground balls, and he messes on his wife, and she gets back at him for sleeping with Vaughn. But, like, his main flaw was the fact that he's self-centered. And you've had a Charlie Sheen's character was that he didn't want help from anybody. You had stuttering all over the place. Willie Mays Hayes just wanted to show off all the time. Everybody has their flaw, and Taylor's flaw, Taylor, was that aspect, because everything else he was dead on. Like he was their leader. He was the most level-headed guy inside the locker room. So he needs a flaw. That's his flaw.
it's a pretty big flaw, though.
It is. And it's the fact that he has no other flaw ever. And again, like you said, like it's...
I mean, his knees.
Well, that's physical.
Yeah, but still.
So they kept talking about his knees and how, like, they were such a big deal. Were they just fine in the end? Like,
No. I guarantee that there was a scene in this that was cut where he was getting like painkillers shots, because even back in the 80s they were doing like shots to numb like joints.
Oh wow.
They do that now. Like that's that's one of the reasons why some players retire. It isn't because of they don't want to play anymore. It's because they're just sick and tired of the prep to play at that level. Like they don't want to deal with it anymore, and that's part of it.
Okay, so speaking of playing at that level, this movie brought up a lot of questions that I had about what playing in a major league level was like, and Ryan, I need you to answer them for me.
Okay.
So, first off, do they really sleep in bunk beds at training camp?
That
yeah, they were just all in one room. I'm like, no.
Okay. So as far as I'm aware, whenever they go on some of the players have their own homes wherever spring training is. Majorly, what's supposed to happen, all of the teams on the East Coast go to Florida. All of the teams on the West Coast end up going to Arizona.
Okay.
For spring training. As far as I'm aware, some of the players have their own places or condos or apartments down in those locations. Players who don't, I'm going to assume they have room and board for them somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole bunk bed boot camp setup was just easier for them to film.
That makes sense. But it also put them more in close quarters, so you could watch the tension build between them, and then the whole red card scene. Is that real too? I had a lot of training camp questions.
Okay.
That red card thing.
I'm going to assume at some point it was.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the 70s, 60s, 80s, maybe some teams were still doing it. It definitely created a lot of good drama for spring training, so that I don't really know. But I'm going to assume that at some point some team implemented something along those lines.
Got it.
For that to be in there.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So yeah, these are questions I had that I need answers to.
Okay,
so
just spit them out.
I understand that the rules of Major League Baseball say that there isn't a salary cap, but I feel like they have to have rules about minimums and about minimum standards of quality for a lot of stuff. And part of the plot is that Evil Lady wanted to take care of, or wanted to get rid of a lot of kind of their basic necessities. Hey, they were going to go fly to another city. Here's this terrible prop plane that's going to take them there. Which, I enjoyed. I thought that part was funny. That series of jokes worked for me. And, the hot tub was, a boat engine that they set, way too close to someone's feet for me to think they're not going to get cut off.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, his feet. Are they allowed to do that? Is it really that, vastly,
You're talking about guys who are putting their body physically on the line to make the owners millions, if not billions of dollars a year. And they would not do that.
Plus
No.
they're unionized, right?
Oh, they are heavily unionized. Whenever anybody talks about the dangers of unions, I'm like, you want to see how they work? Look at pro sports. Look at pro.
Oh, wow.
You want to see
dangers of unions? Who would ever talk about the dangers of unions, Ryan?
I know some people. Believe me, I know people.
I know some companies, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've all worked for that company.
Oh, yeah, you worked for them, too. I
did.
forgot about that. For 2 weeks, right?
Exactly. It was great.
There we go. Okay, any other questions? About from you, Devin, about...
Oh, I know I'm going to come up with more, but those were my big ones. Is training camp really like that? And, there has to be some kind of minimum standard for these people because they are performing at a high level.
Yeah, no, there is.
I mean, because it looked like they put them in, a metal tub of bog water with a propeller.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. So, in the movie they make the Yankees to be their main rivals.
Yeah.
Who is Cleveland's main rivalry?
Well, at the moment,
because the Yankees just seem like generic.
Everyone's rival.
Yeah, everyone knows the Yankees.
Okay, well, the reason why the Yankees were their rivals in the movie was because at that time, the Yankees would have been honestly everybody's rival. That's just time period, that makes sense. That's not the director going, well, the Yankees are a popular team, let's just throw the Yankees in there. No, the Yankees played within the Indians division.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's something that, yeah. So in 1994, so prior to 1994, it was just split in American League, National League, and then you just played each other, and then like the two top three teams went to the playoffs. Like, I'm probably getting some of that stuff wrong, but I'm just doing this real quick and simple. And then in 1994, they wound it up. The Indians wound it up in the Central Division, which would have taken them away from the Yankees, and now they're in the Eastern Division. In the American League, which now they do play the Yankees regularly. Like, that's one of their main teams they play every single year, is the Yankees. Huh. Just like how the Phillies play the Mets a tons of time a year. And the same way the Cardinals and Cubs play a lot every single year. The Indians and the Yankees play a lot against each other. In fact, the player for the Yankees that they had as like Vaughn's main rival, like Haywood, the guy that hit the home run off of him in his first game, he was actually a real player. He was their assistant to keep, to keep things real. Like, how like in Saving Private Ryan, Tom Hanks's commander, the guy with the white mustache who sends them on their mission.
Yeah.
He was the military instructor for the movie itself. So he was in the armed forces, and he was there to make sure that he was there to make sure that when they needed to do something correct, he was there to point them in the right direction. That's what that actor was there for the movie. Funny enough, he was a pitcher.
Same thing with R. Lee Ermey in Full Metal Jacket. Like, he was the military consultant for the drill sergeant.
That's exactly.
Cool. And then he was better at it, so Kubrick was just like, "Here, you get on camera."
Exactly. Okay. So that answers that. So some funny things. And this is where this ties into where like this movie ties into actual baseball culture and actual baseball fandom. So when this movie came out, there was a pitcher who played for the Cubs. His name was Mitch Williams. When this movie came out, he adapted the number 99, if I'm correct. And he started playing Wild Thing whenever they'd call him out of the bullpen to pitch. So he very temporarily got the nickname Wild Thing. Now, prior to this movie coming out, going up to bat, they'd play music. When you go up, you get your music played to walk up and hit. That wasn't a thing for pitchers, especially closers, somebody who comes in to only pitch in the 8th and 9th inning to close out the game. This started that. In fact, now most closers, when they come out of the bullpen, like the team's number one closer has a theme song to walk out to and to listen to warm up. And this is something that I asked you guys before. If you guys were major league pitchers, closers, and you could pick any song to walk out to, what song would it be?
I have a list.
That's
A
fine.
list.
That is perfectly fine.
Well, first of all, I asked my wife what she thought, and she's like, "One, I didn't know that was a thing." But she said that my song would be Hall and Oates, like, like, "You Make My Dreams Come True." I'm like, okay, that's not the vibe we're going for, but okay. But no, my list is "Learn to Fly" by the Foo Fighters.
Aw.
That's a good one.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme.
Yeah.
Just like the heavy guitar. And I had another one, but I forget what it was. Devin, what were yours?
So my immediate one was I went on the internet and tried to find an auto-tuned song version of the "Coffee is for Closers" speech from Glengarry Glen Ross, and I wanted it to be that so bad. And I couldn't find one.
Which, if you're a major league pitcher and you get named a closer, you can have that made.
Right, because why not?
Why not? There was actually a player who played for the St. Louis Cardinals. His walk-up song to bat was the Money Song from Wolf of Wall Street. It was the the pounding on the chest. It was that.
Oh, I like that.
Like it was that for a while. I have two. I have just like Alan. I kind of have a list because I'm stuck because my walk-up to bat song as a baseball player would be Wake Up from Rage Against the Machines. Because it starts off with, the heavy guitar, the rhythmic drums, and it's got that grungy feel to it. And to me, whenever I hear like the first 30 seconds of Wake Up by Rage Against the Machine, I just think of somebody squinting with like a really ticked off look on their face. Like somebody who's just ready to fight. And it was like, that's exactly what I want. But coming out the pitch, different song.
Okay.
Hammerfall by Queen.
I don't know if I know that one. I have to know that one.
I don't think I know that one.
Oh.
Wait, was that in Baby Driver?
No, it was not in Baby Driver.
Okay.
Oh, I gotta look that up.
Hammerfall was one of the songs they sang at that charity event in '85.
That charity Live Aid?
Live Aid. You guys know what I'm talking about, so I don't need to say it.
I do.
Oh, I think I know which one you're talking about then.
When the hammer will fall, that whole thing.
Oh,
it's kind of like, like classic rock, think it's got the heavy guitar at the front.
I'm sorry, I got distracted because I have YouTube open on my other screen. Devin, I found 3 remixes of the Glengarry Glen Ross mix.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't find them at all. I gotta look
at so there you go. You got it.
Because I came up with a backup one in case that was too lame of an answer, and mine was "Carry On, Wayward Son" because I love that one.
I got you.
In my that is a good one. That actually came on today, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember playing this in high school.
Yeah.
My third one was "Come and Get Your Love" by Redbone.
Oh, I like that.
Okay. So one of the more famous songs, like there was a pitcher. His name was Trevor Hoffman, one of the best closers, that's done that specific job, like probably like top 15, top 10. And his walkout song was Hell's Bells by AC/DC.
Oh, that's a good one.
He pitched for San Diego. He pitched for the Brewers, but that was his walkout song was Hell's Bells. And he was just known for that. It was kind of like a pro wrestler. You know how like people know pro wrestlers by their walkout song? It was kind of the same thing. So I wanted to ask you guys that. And then in 2016, again, this is tying Major League Baseball into actual baseball itself. In 2016, when the Cleveland Indians were going to the playoffs and going to the World Series, 2 of the players, got 2 statues of Jobu and put them in the clubhouse. And they first offered vodka, and when vodka didn't work, they offered him rum. And that game, they won like 6-0, or they went like 6 straight games. And then of course in the playoffs, they actually sacrificed a supermarket chicken in the clubhouse to Jobu.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
so
good for them.
So
I really appreciated those jokes. The only problem I had with it was like the whole, like, my religion is better than your religion, because that stuff just
it gets uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable and it's not necessary.
It is, and here's why. Like the tie-in is with that. When you get into clubhouses, you get a mix of people. You get people from every walks of life. You get people from different faiths, and a lot of baseball players, especially from this country, are super Christian. They just are. It's just, it's one of those things. And the director was kind of poking fun at, people in clubhouses, like really not, they're like bumping heads. It just like how whenever the pitcher, Myers or Miller, would go to do something in response to his faith, Doyle, the shortstop, would roll his eyes and walk out of the room. And then you've got him picking on the Allstate guy for Joe Boo, and then they go back and forth at each other. So to me, the jokes was spread evenly around everybody. They didn't make the Christian guy more legitimate than the voodoo guy, even though the voodoo, like you said, just like Alan said, I will say, this is very Hollywood stereotypical voodoo. Like, this is like cartoon voodoo. And that's where, to me, is where the cringiness is. Like, that's, you know, that's where it is for me. And I said before about
I think Dennis Haysbert handled it well. Those jokes were in good hands.
Oh man.
That then goes to one of my other favorite lines when Brown, whatever the coach goes, nice catch, Hayes. Don't ever fucking do it again. Or he just leans into him and he's like congratulating, like that's great, but don't you ever do that again. But okay, so one of the things that I mentioned before about how they do a lot of nuanced things with this movie about for true like baseball fans, like baseball history fans, and this is one of those things, and this is in the trivia on IMDb. After Vaughn strikes out Haywood, he is congratulated in the dugout by a player named Kienler, messing up that name more than likely, Keltner. Kientler. Ken Kientler was the third baseman on the 1941 Indians whose fielding heroics helped end Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak.
Oh wow!
So the guy, Joe DiMaggio still holds that record. That means that he hit in 56 straight games. Probably will never happen ever again. Ever. And he ended that streak against the Cleveland Indians, and the third baseman who stopped that, they put his name on the back of one of the players for this movie.
Oh, that's
as
cool.
Kind of like
that's
a
cool.
tribute to, you know,
Yeah.
as a tribute to that.
Deep cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, 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 very. So out of all of the actors who played actual players, and I'm getting towards the end here, so out of all of the actors who played the players, who do you think actually had prior baseball experience?
Oh man.
I'm going to say the main guy, so Tom Bergener and Corbin Burnson.
My guess is the manager. Like
Charlie-
back in the day.
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen?
Charlie Sheen was a high school baseball player, and he was a pitcher.
Is that why he likes?
a short?
Is that why he likes?
Yeah.
Is that why he likes speedball so much?
Might be. After high school, he was actually offered a full baseball scholarship to Kansas University, or to the
And
University
his
of
dad
Kansas.
is like, "No, you're going into the family business."
Pretty much. But when they were filming the movie, Charlie Sheen was consistently throwing fastballs in the high 80s.
Whoa.
Which made it really easy for them to depict him throwing at 100 and 101.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that. But he also admitted in Sports Illustrated that he took steroids for his role.
Good job, Charlie Sheen. Of course he did.
Charlie Sheen took drugs?
What?
What?
Okay, so I got to get into the whole Charlie Sheen thing here. So,
Oh, good.
when I see Charlie Sheen, I don't think rock star from Mars. To me, that's like watching an old rock star that I grew up with who's finally turned old and senile. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, yeah, he's a jerk, he's a dick, whatever. I can, you know, I can not ignore this behavior and call him out for it. But I knew him from this. And I knew him from Hot Shots, and I knew him from Hot Shots Part 2. Like, I knew him from his movie comedies that he did back in the 80s and 90s. So that's why when I see these movies and I see Charlie Sheen, I'm thinking about him making fun of Rambo or, you know, or walking out onto a baseball field with thick black framed glasses with a skull glued to the center of them. Like, I'm not thinking of him from 3.5 Men, because I never watched that show, because I never found that show funny, even when he was on it.
See, I knew him from Spin City. Like, that was my introduction to Charlie Sheen. And then, like, right after that was Scary Movie, and then he became, like, the Charlie Sheen that everyone knows.
Yeah, see, I didn't... Like, my following of Charlie Sheen began and ended with these movies.
Nobody corrected me ever on this, and I don't know why they haven't, but for years I was like, Charlie Sheen, he was great in Apocalypse Now.
It's Platoon.
Martin Sheen was in Apocalypse Now. And I was like, I've never seen Platoon either, but like I mixed him and his brother up, and like I think I've been saying this for about 20 years now. No one's corrected me.
Martin Sheen's his father.
Martin Sheen's his father?
His brother is Emilio Estevez.
I did not know these things.
Okay, so funny thing that happened. Have either of you two seen the Hot Shots movies? The ones that made fun of Top Gun and made fun of Rambo?
No.
Never seen them? Okay.
I think I've seen one of them.
Okay, so there's a spot in the second one where they're on a Vietnam era like patrol boat. That, you know, like the one that you're on in Call of Duty Black Ops when they're doing the like sympathy for the devil thing, like that type of boat. So they're on that and they're going through this jungle, and another one comes at them with an American flag on it, and they pass. And on the other boat is Martin Sheen. And on the boat that they're filming on for, you know, the Hot Shots movie is Charlie Sheen, and both of them are writing, and they're doing the like monologue of what they're writing, and Charlie hears his father, and he looks up, and then you hear his father. You hear Martin's one, and they both stand up, and as they ride past each, and as they go past each other, they yell at each other, "Loved you in Wall Street." Loved you in Wall Street. So, I mean, like, that's what I think of when I think of Charlie Sheen. I think of that scene. And
Charlie Sheen's real name is Carlos Irwin Estevez.
I did not know that.
Yeah. The more you know.
I'm learning so much today.
So, yeah, so they're... Okay. So when it comes to baseball films and baseball comedies, Devon, I know that you said that you did enjoy this, and that you wanted to see more sports movies. Do you think I mean, great, I know it's a comedy, but as a baseball fan, I have to ask, are you understanding a little bit more of like the baseball nuance, like jokes, or the baseball nuance stuff that's in it?
Yes, until one point.
Okay.
When Wesley Snipes caught the ball and he goes, "Great job. Don't ever do that again." I went, "Isn't his job to catch the ball?
Okay.
Why did he get yelled at for catching the ball?"
So when you go to catch a ball like that, if you ever watch an actual game, college, Little League, whatever, they hold the and for people who can't obviously are listening, you can't see what we're doing. I'm physically doing what I'm saying. You're going to put your hands up over your head and look up, and you're looking past the top of the glove.
Yeah.
And you're guiding your glove to meet the ball. Okay? That's 99.999% of the time you're going to catch that ball if you do that. Yeah. If you have talent and you know what you're doing, yes, you can make a basket catch like that. But your risk of dropping the ball skyrockets.
Oh. So it was his technique when he caught it.
I mean, basket catches are great if you're running your ass off and that's the only way you're going to catch that ball. By all means, do a basket catch. And what he was referencing and why they said it was Willie Mays Hayes. The actual person that he's referencing by doing the basket catch, there's a famous catch where he runs out and the ball comes over his shoulder from behind him and he reached out and caught it. There's no way he could have seen the ball coming until like the last 3 seconds. Wow. And he caught it. So that's what he's referencing by catching the ball like that. And what Lou Brown is saying is, hey, man, that's a great catch, but you're not doing that ever again because we can't risk you dropping that ball.
That makes sense. Okay. I was like, oh, well, in my mind, I was like, oh, well, he needed him to not catch that ball. So then the next inning or the next batter, they could get 2 more people out and they messed up the strategy. I went way too far with that.
That's even the wrong line of thinking, but I'm not going to even touch that.
No, it was a bad line of thinking. Trust me. I know where I'm wrong.
Okay. So Alan, I know before you said that there were parts of it that you liked and parts of it that you didn't like. To kind of wrap things up, I mean, did you want to talk about the stuff that you kind of had that really wasn't your thing on it compared to what you did like in it?
I mean, I think I covered most of it. It was mostly the love story that I didn't appreciate.
Okay.
I mean, I think I've just seen so many ragtag team of misfits in a sports game that I'm just kind of over that story. It's done well here. But I think the Charlie Sheen-ness of it and that love story just really took me out of it. I enjoy Wesley Snipes. I see that he's not in the second one, so that makes me really not want to watch it.
The second one's
bad.
Oh.
I see that they replace him with Omar Epps.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
I like Omar Epps.
One of the only gag I like from the second one is they get a new catcher, younger catcher, because the other guy's got bad knees and he can't concentrate. He's throwing wild. He can't concentrate on the game, but they always show him reading Playboy magazines constantly. He's constantly reading Playboy magazines. And so they finally ask him about it, and he says, well, it really calms me down before and after the game. I read it, and I can focus or whatever. So he's like, do you know what the articles are? He's like, yeah, I read them every day. He's like, then read them out loud to yourself when you're playing the game. You can focus then. And that's what he does. And he ends up becoming the best catcher in the league because he's verbally reading out loud during the game articles about the playmates. So it's throwing off the batters because he's talking about what kind of underwear they like and everything else. So I mean, there's that. Yeah, but that's the only gag I like from the second one.
Okay. And I see that Scott Bakula is in the third one. I'm assuming that it's just a sequel to Quantum Leap and he leaps into somebody's body on the Indians and has to put right what once went wrong.
If it's not, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah, no, I refuse to watch the third one. I loved the second one as a kid, but I tried watching it again honestly a month ago and I couldn't get through the first 5 minutes.
Oh wow. Ew.
It's not good.
Is it a bad Randy Newman song this time?
Well, no, it's it's the next season and they're all famous and they change the characters. Ricky Vaughn goes from being the punk to being the new money guy. And he shows up wearing a suit. And all of his fans are there in leather jackets and mohawks, and he walks out of a limousine with a, late 80s business blonde and is head to toe corporate.
It's weird.
Yeah. But I think I may have reached my end.
All right.
Because there's a ton of other stuff that I wanted to go over, but I'm not, because I told Alan before I could go forever with this type of stuff, but I just wanted to get an idea of what you guys thought about the film, give you some nuanced things about behind the scenes and how this movie affects baseball fandom culture and stuff like that. So.
Okay. Yeah. When it comes to baseball, we have to give you a limit or else we'll be here all day. So.
No,
not that that's a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's just,
Yeah. This movie was supposed to be, and for the listeners, the whole Sandlot, this movie, the last movie we're going to be doing, this was supposed to mark the All-Star game, which is not being played this year because it was supposed to be played on on the break, which is not going to happen because the season's starting after. But instead, this is for the season opener. So that works.
I think that does it. Devin, any final thoughts?
Yeah, and this is probably a controversial one, but if at any point anyone said, "Hey, Devin, we're watching a baseball movie tonight," you have to pick, and I would pick this movie over Sandlot, like pretty quickly. Like this movie was for me a lot better than Sandlot.
Well, this movie is what fans of Sandlot grow up to like. Like here,
Got it.
You go. Here's the baseball fandom movie growth. Sandlot, you find as a kid. Major League, you find as a preteen or a teenager, and if you're lucky enough with parents that actually grow with you with it, or like walk you through the film, that's your next movie. So this is like the teenage baseball, like fan film, and then you get into the Kevin Costner movies, and then the movie that the majority of lifelong baseball fans claim to be their favorite is usually Bull Durham. So like this is a growth. So this is like
we're doing it.
Yeah, and this is it. And then we're gonna move it around a little bit because Moneyball is gonna be next, because I really want you to see Moneyball before the other ones because it's more of a serious drama.
Which is cool because I haven't seen it. They've all been like comedies so far.
Yeah,
and like I want to see like drama around baseball.
Mm-hmm. And believe me, you'll get it with Moneyball.
Good.
So, I'm good.
Since we're at the end, I want to bring up something else I didn't like about this movie.
That's fine.
It just ends. Like, you don't get to see the owner's reaction at all. So, on that note, bye.
And we cut that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think that pretty much does it for this week's episode.
Yeah.
Or second episode. I don't know.
Whichever.
We need to figure this stuff out. But yeah, so that does it for You Have to Watch This podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook. Make sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to our podcast. And leave a review if you can. We really like hearing your guys' feedback. If you have any comments, you can email us at youhavetoWatchThisPodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, for You Have to Watch This podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
Just a bit outside.
No.
A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. AIDA. Attention, interest, decision, action. Attention. Do I have your attention?